He is standing in a room that is finally completely quiet. The door has already closed. The decision has already been made. And in the first hours after, there is something that almost feels like relief. Because the silence is clean. Because he told himself this was right. But there is something underneath the relief that he does not have a name for yet. Most men who walk away from love eventually find something else. The ache softens. The absence fills. But the man who walks away from the one person who truly knew him, not loved from a distance, not admired the idea of him, but knew him, the real, uncertain, unguarded version that never made it into any room he curated. That man does not simply move on. He spends the rest of his life performing for audiences who only know the version he decided to show them. And somewhere in the quiet, he knows the difference. This is not about love lost. This is about something rarer. The specific, irreplaceable experience of being known by another person, fully, without editing, without performance, and choosing to walk away from it before understanding what it weighed. Most people are loved in their lifetime. Almost no one is truly known. He had both, and he left. What follows is what actually lives inside a man who made that choice. Not in the days when the grief was loudest, but in the months after, when the loudness has passed and only the truth remains. The first thing he noticed was not her absence. It was the quality of the room without her in it. There is a specific difference between a room that held someone you loved and a room that held someone who knew you. The first is quieter after they leave. The second is less witnessed. And those are not the same thing. He had walked into the silence he created, and in the first hours he mistook it for peace. What arrived instead was quieter and stranger. The absence of being seen. The disorienting experience of being in his own life with no one in it who knew what any of it actually meant to him. He thought he was stepping into freedom. What he actually stepped into was a world full of people who only knew the version of him he chose to show them. And for the first time, he understood what it cost to be that version, without her there to remind him it wasn't the only one. Around her, he had not needed to perform. That sentence sounds simple. It was not simple. It was one of the rarest things a person can experience. The complete suspension of the version you maintain for the world. She knew when he was performing. She saw through it without force, without interrogation, just the quiet attention of someone who was simply not fooled. She called it out, sometimes gently, sometimes without words at all, and with her trying again did not feel like surrender. It felt like arrival. Now she was gone, and the performance resumed. He noticed it within days. The exhaustion of being fine, the specific weight of conversations with people who knew his name, his surface, his curated self, and finding, at the end of each one, that nothing had actually been exchanged. Everyone around him knows the version he built for the world. She knew the one he built the world to protect. He tried to find it again, move forward the way people do. New conversations, new connections. People who were good, genuinely, adequately good, and who knew nothing. What he could not find was this: the experience of saying something half-formed, still becoming itself in the speaking, and having the person across from him understand not just the words, but the whole person the words were coming from. She had done that without effort, without him having to translate himself. Every new person required him to begin from the beginning. Every conversation had a gap in it, between what he was saying and what he actually meant, and he stood on one side of it alone. He was not looking for someone to love him. He was looking for someone to know him the way she did, and he was slowly, quietly, privately discovering that does not exist twice. It arrived on a Tuesday, not in a moment designed for revelation, just an ordinary room, just the accumulated weight of months, settling into a truth that had no more softening left to offer. He was surrounded by people who knew his name, his humor, his capability, good people, and he had never been more alone in his life. Because she knew more than his name. She knew what he meant when he went quiet. She knew the difference between when he said, "I'm okay," and when he meant it. And she had arrived at that difference through nothing more and nothing less than genuine, sustained, unflinching attention. No one in that room had any of that. No one in that room ever would. He did not understand what it meant to be truly known until he was surrounded by people who only knew enough. And enough, he discovered, is the loneliest thing in the world when you have once had everything. He cannot tell anyone. Not because there is no one listening, because the moment he tells someone, he has to become the man who chose to walk away and is now undone by the walking away. There is no social permission for that grief. No room in the architecture of having been the one who left for the sorrow of the one who left. So the grief stays inside. It circulates. It has no exit and no audience and no permission to exist. The grief of losing someone who truly knew you is heavy enough on its own. The grief of having chosen that loss, of having been the one who left, carries a silence inside it that has no door. He knows, he has known for a while, and he stays in the silence anyway, not from the absence of feeling. From the presence of a story he has told too many times to revise, he built a life around that story. A next chapter. A persona that had moved on. Returning means every word of that story was wrong. Some men would rather live inside the wrong story for the rest of their lives than face the specific cost of admitting they made the most expensive mistake they will ever make. It is not that he does not know. It is that knowing requires him to become someone willing to say it out loud. And that man, the one capable of that, is the exact man she always believed he could be. The one he walked away from becoming. She did not stay in his memory the way ordinary memories stay. She became a calibration, a quiet, permanent measure against which every subsequent experience of closeness is, without his choosing it, compared. She is there in the conversation, where someone asks how he is doing and he says fine, and realizes that fine is not a feeling he ever had to perform for her. She is there when he tells the public version of a story and thinks of the version he used to tell only to her, the real one. There is a whole dimension of himself that has not been spoken to since the day he walked away. She did not just know him. She was the only witness to the version of him that was most fully, most honestly, most completely himself. And without her, that version has no one left to exist for. Here is what psychology confirms, and what he will almost certainly never say to anyone. Walking away from someone who loved you leaves a wound that heals with time. But walking away from the one person who truly knew you leaves something different. A specific and permanent silence in the part of yourself that was only fully alive in her presence. He did not lose a relationship. He lost the only audience for his truest self. No new connection fills that specific silence. It simply becomes the thing he carries quietly, permanently, in every room he walks into alone. And now to you. You gave him the rarest thing one human being can offer another. Not love. Love is more common than we admit. You gave him sight. You saw the full, unedited version of him, and you stayed. Not for the performance, for what was underneath it. His leaving was never a verdict on your worth. His inability to hold what you offered was not a measurement of your weight. It was a measurement of his capacity. She was not too much. He was not yet enough. Those are entirely different things, and the difference between them is the difference between a story about your inadequacy and the truth, which is a story about his readiness. What you deserve is someone who does not need the education of your absence to understand the value of your presence. Someone who sees the full version of you and chooses it, deliberately, consistently, without needing to lose it first to understand what it was worth. You were not hard to love. You were not hard to know. You were simply given to someone who had not yet become the person capable of deserving either. If this gave words to something you have been carrying alone, press like. Not as a favor, as agreement. Subscribe for the people who feel deeply and have spent too long without the words to explain why. You are not alone in what you carried. You never have to be.